Hello, I am back and I am going to finish discussing Chapter 2 and go on into Chapter 3. Like I said, Chapter 2 is a short chapter and the main focus of that chapter is talking or discussing daily health observations and also daily health checks. And it goes through a lot of descriptive material about how to conduct those. Um, Daily health checks can provide a way for monitoring a child's health and development, and it can provide teachers with valuable opportunities for educating children and their families about various health topics. What are daily health checks? It's when you observe a child's appearance and behavior, and you need to ask yourself, is there a need for referral and professional evaluation? All information gathered in a daily health check is considered confidential. When I'm talking about referrals or professional evaluations, that's when you see a child that may be having problems with vision, for example, or a speech and language problem, or a hearing problem, which we'll discuss more. There are also, and these show up really quick when you start working with a group of children, behavioral problems. But some of those are not necessarily problems that are caused from poor health conditions. Some of those, well, some of them are, but maybe poor diet. But sometimes children have not been taught how to behave properly, and usually when they come to a preschool setting, that's their first opportunity to be in a setting like that, so they have to learn what the acceptable behavior is in a setting such as a preschool classroom. So a lot of times what you might see at the beginning that is a problem that you want to refer might be handled better in time as the child learns more about how to conduct his or herself in the classroom, in the daily day-to-day activities that go on in a classroom. Chapter 3. Chapter 3, there are actually two health competencies that I'm going to talk about that are part of our course competencies. The competency is explain the proper procedures for maintaining health and immunization records and administrating prescribed medicines. Well, to be completely honest, that information is found specifically in the rules for child care learning centers from the Georgia DCALB right from the start website. And you all had to examine that as assignment 1. I am going to be referring to the Rule 591-1-1-08, Children's Records. And it starts off with, a center must maintain a file for each child while such child is in care at the center and for a period of 1 year after such child is no longer in the care at the Child Care Learning Center. The file shall contain the following. And obviously the first part is name, date of birth, the child's gender, address, living arrangement, whether or not they live with both parents or they live with single parent, name of school, name of guardian if the parent is not the main guardian. Then, of course, we go on down to names of people that can be contacted in case the child needs to be seen at school, a person that can be contacted for the child's records and can take care of the child in case the parent is not available. Okay, let's see. I have, and there's several more. The one that we are looking at specifically, under that rule, by the way, there are A through N in that section. So that's quite a bit there, but the one that our competency deals with is G, the letter G under that rule, and it has to do with immunizations. Evidence of age-appropriate immunizations or a signed affidavit against such immunizations, that's what needs to be in the child's records. These items shall be maintained for each child enrolled in a center on a form approved by the department, and no child shall continue enrollment in the center for more than 30 days without such evidence. And then I actually found the rule for the Georgia Pre-K program. There is a form. It's a DHR form 3231, and it must be up to date, or the affidavit has to be in the child's records on file within 30 calendar days of the day that they enter the program. Only health departments and physicians licensed in Georgia can obtain that blank certificate, which is Form 3231, and a parent is supposed to take their child's personal immunization record to a health department or a Georgia physician, or they can complete that form and get the required vaccines. Let's see. Like I said, there are A through N, that would be 14 different parts to that about the child's records at the center. And the very last one talks about confidentiality. It is crucial that all information about a child's records is kept confidential, and it is not to be shared among the caregiving, the people that work, the staff members, the caregivers, the teachers, are not supposed to be talking amongst each other about confidential information about each specific child. Chapter 3 goes on to talk about, let me back up. That material that I just talked about is in the rules list that we got from the start, the website. I'm going to go back to chapter 3 for a second from the textbook, because the textbook goes kind of a different direction, but some of the things that you would do as a preschool, pre-K teacher, Head Start, I'm not sure, various settings that you would do is check a child's height and weight. In a public school setting, there's usually a nurse on staff, and that person takes care of doing this for the children in the kindergarten class room setting. But height and weight, body mass index or BMI, vision, hearing, speech and language, and then there again in a public school setting, there's also a speech and language person on staff, and that person is a therapist trained to deal with speech and language problems, and a lot of times that person would be the one to screen the child in that setting. School nurse or the teacher, depending on what setting you're in, would also assess a child's or screen a child's nutritional status. Basically what we're looking at is the extremes, a child that is malnourished or a child that is obese. Then there's, for the screening processes for vision, there's several common vision disorders such as amblyopia, which is the lazy eye, strabismus, crossed eyes, myopia, nearsightedness, hyperopia, which is farsightedness, and then children can be colorblind. As far as children that have problems with hearing, they can have hearing problems that affect their volume and tone. They can have the structures in the inner ear or the auditory nerve can be damaged, which can cause those things not to function properly. That can be causing their hearing problem, as well as a combination of the two. Speech and language problems, there's just a few I've listed here, but there's a table on page 68, table 3-3, And this one is talking about speech and language milestones. Those of you that are very interested in infants and have infants, that's a good chart to look at to see where your child should be at what age. But some problems: stuttering, lisping, a child that talks with a monotone voice, nasally voice, or improper pitch or volume, a voice that is the voice tone that is too high or too low, a child that does not talk by age 2, substitution of word sounds, and that's common with preschoolers, but some of them are not as common as others. Our other competency, and I'm getting to the end of this, folks, is, well, actually there's two more, I'm sorry, administrating prescribed medicines. There again, I went back to the rules for the Child Care Learning Centers on the DECAL website, and I looked specifically there. Our competency is wanting us to know how to handle prescribed medicines, but you will have children bring in medicines that are over-the-counter meds, and basically they're handled in the same way. That rule is 591-1-1-20, and it's about medications. And I know I told you guys to write the page number down on the assignment, and I didn't, but I will add that to my lecture notes. But you have some rules about the parental authorization, the way you need to dispense medication, how you need to store medication, and what to do with unused medications. And these rules are hard, fast rules, and they must be followed to the T, so to speak. The last competency in, well, it's not the last competency, but it's the last one I'm going to cover, is exclusion policies in the with children. And there again, I went back to the rules for Child Care Learning Centers, 591-1-1-07, Children's Health Exclusion Policies. And we did have a question on the assessment about this one, I do remember. But there are two big ones. And of course it talks about if a child is running a temperature of 101 degrees Fahrenheit, they need to be excluded, and they also need to be excluded if they have symptoms such as a rash, a sore throat, or diarrhea. And if they show symptoms of the illness during the day, they need to be moved to a quiet area, away from other children. And then there is also some information about parent notification, and how the parent should be notified if an illness or an injury takes place. In this case, our competency is dealing more with, well, no, I'll take that back. It would be, exclusion policies would be dealing with illness or injury. Typically, your injuries are going to happen most of the time on a playground setting, but occasionally there are things that happen in the classroom that are not preventable. But we try to, you need to try to maintain a safe setting. But occasionally, accidents happen. But that should cover all of chapters 1 through 2 in a nutshell. I know there's a lot of stuff that's specifically in the book that I haven't dealt with in as much detail, but there's a lot of information there. So I hope you will refer to the tables and the checklists and the boxes and the illustrations in the textbook that I've talked about. And we will talk some more at the beginning of class and see if anyone has any questions about the material that is covered in chapters 1 through 3. At the end of class on Thursday, August 27th, once class is over and I have a chance to get to my computer, I will open up the quiz for chapters 1 through 3, and you can use your book. It's an open book, open note, and you may want to have the rules for the Child Care Learning Centers, that document, available either online so that you can scroll and find what you need, which means you would probably need to open up two browsers, one for Angel and one for to have the rules open. or I'm going to try my best to get you all a copy. But like I said, that particular document is 110 pages. I do know and have been told that you can get copies made in room 603 on the Currahee campus because they have a grant and that copies can be made, but they have asked that if we make copies of this document that we set the printer to where it would make up to, well, you can do 2 copies on one side and 2 copies on another for a total of 4. So that would really cause us not, we're trying to limit using so much paper. I did my particular copy on front and back, and it copied the back side upside down just because that's the way the printer is set. So someone might have to help you get the printer set to where it would copy multiple pages per sheet of paper. I will try my best. The printer in the early childhood classroom is not as good as some of the ones in the computer labs. To give you an example, and hopefully I can get that printed, but I can't promise because I don't have access to, just for lack of time, I don't have access to get to the copying machine. So, with all that being said, I hope to see you all Thursday. Please ask questions. Do not hesitate to email me. And if you have specific questions, write them down and ask me when we get to class so that we can talk about them face to face. See you Thursday.